This is new business.
Okay.
Is that usually how it looks? Okay.
Yeah.
So they have the guy on there. Yeah.
Jill.
Jill. No. I don't know if this is the same. And it was a policeman's house.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Are we good to go on the Zoom?
Yeah, let me tell. Hey, Alex, you can go ahead and start the stream. Yeah. Ready?
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If we please start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, it is August 25th, Stormwater Board meeting for Town of Cedar Lake. Everyone have a chance to review the minutes from July 28th?
We do roll call first,
Go
right?
ahead.
Thomas Frick?
Here.
Daniel Enright?
Here.
Ryan Lissick?
Here.
Don Oliphant?
Here.
Tom Stevens?
Here.
Bob Carnahan? And Tammy Booger here.
All right. Do you have a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? Make a motion to approve them?
I motion that we accept the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
All right.
Dan Enright?
Yes.
Thomas Frick?
Yes.
And Ryan Lissick?
Yes. All right, the first order of old business is Jacob Veman, 9208 West 142nd Place. Mr. Veman, are you here today? All right. Want to go ahead and address it, Don, and what has been going on, just so we can get it on.
So this one kind of relates to a potential policy change that we discussed kind of in the last two meetings. Typically, it's been the policy of this board to, for cases like this, where it's primarily, or, all rear yard drainage, constructed and pre-platted subdivisions prior to any kind of stormwater ordinances with no easements, no infrastructure, that it basically be a homeowner issue. Whereas we would try, if there is a feasible outlet in the vicinity, we would essentially core a hole or extend that outfall to the right-of-way boundary. And it would be their responsibility to tie into that. I think we'll talk about the potential policy change at the end of the meeting, but we can just glance over it really quick. The policy change would essentially institute a cap for a homeowner for a cost share program, essentially, and these are only recommendations by any means. They can change however you want, however you like them to be. Basically a cost share up to $10,000, 50-50. Anything above that would be totally on the town. So the resident fee would be capped at $5,000. There's a bunch of other caveats that would go into it. But that would be kind of the middle ground of where the policy is, currently now versus it being entirely on the town. So we can discuss that potential policy change later, or we can discuss it now. It's up to you.
Let's put the policy, move to talk about the policy later on.
Okay.
In regards to the Veman property, it's always been a low spot in the backyard, and that's how it's been on historical documents. This
Yeah,
is
you can
on-
actually look at it on the GIS here. 1998 contours are up there right now. You can see this low spot here. And when those were constructed, the house to the north was not even constructed yet. There's been some rumors that this house caused the issue, but you can see all this property prior to that house construction drained to the rear portion of the Veman's lot, even 22 years ago. So based on our due diligence and some research we've done with some historical information, it's our understanding this low spot has always been there. And as far as we know, there's no stormwater infrastructure back there. There are no easements, nothing that we can even get back to. Right now, there is a catch basin within the right-of-way at his southeast corner that under the current policy, we would essentially create a stub from that and then run into the right-of-way. And that'd be his responsibility to tie into it.
I just now got connected.
Hi, Bob.
So
So that is kind of where it stands right now. Due to kind of the vetting of that potential policy change, this has kind of been hanging out in the wind until, that either goes into practice or not. Because obviously it determines how we manage his concern.
These houses that we're talking about, in this particular instance, they've been there for over 20 years? Is that what you said?
No, well, the farthest back data that we've gone back is the 1998 county contours. You can actually go back further aerial photography wise. The house has been there since at least 1978.
Okay.
This is a 78 aerial right here. Obviously, it's up for debate if the 98 contours were, still the same by then. But if you look at 98 and 78, all the houses in the general vicinity besides the one to the north were there in 78 as well.
So is the intent here to make a permanent easement?
If we did anything, we would, getting into that policy, it would be a temporary easement to construct, and then it would be a privately maintained system in perpetuity. So once the construction was done, the temporary easement would essentially have a daylight clause on it, or a sunset clause, and it would expire when we were done. And then whatever maintenance it is from the right-of-way to the structure would be the homeowner's responsibility.
And how would we get to the structure without having?
If we don't have an easement, that's not projects because we don't have legal right of access back there. So, I mean, as part of any of these similar types of cases we've kind of been brought to the board in the past, if we don't have an easement or a right of access agreement, there is no project because we don't have legal right to get back there to construct it. So that's obviously first and foremost, the most critical thing you have to obtain before you can do any of these. There is none, then there is no project. So that's one of the caveats of the policy, obviously.
I think based upon historical data, it's been like that since a couple decades now. It's been a low spot. It's on private property.
And there is, as part of the policy, we're not going to get too much now, but there's obviously a clause in there that says if it's, the structure itself is in immediate danger of flooding, it's a different story.
Mhm.
But if it's simply somebody's rear yard is wet from time to time and has been for the last several decades. And that's kind of where the break is. We have done some of these where it has affected the structure. Or it's a failure in town infrastructure to collect water before it gets down to the parcel, something like that. There's still an ability to evaluate all these situations on a case-by-case basis. But in similar ones, and we have had similar, several of these very similar cases over the last couple of years where this is what we've done. This has been the recommendation of the board.
Believe it to be on private property, and it's been an ongoing issue. It's always been low land. That's kind of on the homeowner side there to deal with for right now.
And without go ahead, Bob.
The solution, would it be that we need to get an easement, and if we can get an easement, then we can go in there and do it? We'll need Dave's help with that?
If the policy of this board changed from the last several years, then yes, that would be the first step into doing a project. But that's the gist of it, Bob, is that in similar cases like this for the last several years, the response to a concern like this has been very similar and very clear and very, similar to the, because we don't want to set precedent. If you do it once, you're going to have to keep doing it. And
Okay.
it's very expensive.
So it's the property owner's responsibility.
That is the current policy. If this board
Okay.
chooses to change that, then that's up to their discretion.
All right, thank you.
So there, for example, none of the neighbors overfilled their yard to where this is a new issue, it's an old issue.
Yeah, it's not, somebody installed a pool on the east side and this used to drain down the common lot line. Because we've had similar instances like that before, where you can kind of research back and say, oh, we didn't have a problem until 3 years ago when this person did this. In this case, looking back at things, it appears to have been here for, quite a long time, and nothing you can pinpoint to say this created it.
Well, if changing the policy is going to change how we've done things in the past, I'm personally against changing anything. And it needs to come on a case by case, because like you said, if we do change the policy, we're going to have hundreds of soup bowl properties. Hey, you did it over here. Why aren't you doing it here?
Yeah.
I'd be against that.
At giving the current policy, I think this is on the homeowners task, not as part of the stormwater board or town Cedar Lake.
I would recommend we move on and discuss it further at the end. And if that discussion changes the specific item, we can address it at the next meeting.
Okay. All right, moving on to Martin Ryan at 8320 Raven Way. Mr. Ryan, are you here today? All right.
Okay. So Mr. Ryan came to the board meeting a couple months ago. He lives right here off of Raven Way, a little west of, I believe this is Meadowlark, sorry. He has a large ravine to his west of his property. It's quite deep. It's 10 to 13 feet deep. That ravine is controlled by essentially a 12-inch pipe that crosses under Raven Way and heads south. He mentioned, just as a refresher, that there is a 12-inch flare-down section and then an open 48-inch manhole that essentially just has a rebar grate on the top of it that's just open. As you can imagine, there's a lot of debris that comes out of this ravine. that essentially gets sucked down on the top of that. We still don't have phase one plan for the subdivision. It started building out in 94, 95. We went through a banker's box and a half worth of records dating back to the early 90s and still don't have exact plans for it. We were trying to see if this was actually used its attention because a 12-inch pipe is rather small for the amount of area that's kind of conveyed to it. This provides several issues, I guess. Downstream subdivisions from Havenwood have had historical problems of flooding. So I don't simply want to open up that culvert because we'll just push a problem that we already have downstream and make it worse. I don't think it's a clogging issue per se. Yes, debris does get trapped on there, but it's only a 12-inch pipe. So I think it's more of a capacity issue and a conveyance issue versus a clogging issue. I don't think if you had clogging, you'd still get some high water mark through there. It would pond up pretty good. What we discussed with staff was that we cap that 48-inch structure and put a large beehive on it to basically try to prevent some of that debris from clogging it as best we can. See what that does. Any changes to that pipe, if they were considered, it's a very long stretch of pipe and it's quite deep. As you can tell, it's probably at the bottom of that ravine. So you'd have to open cut the road to get it in there.
And that was my next question.
It would be quite a job. But again, we know we have issues downstream and I don't just want to open that up. Because the issues downstream are significant as well. Yes, Bob?
Havenwood really didn't get underway until 1995. I left, my last year on the council was in 94, and then I was gone for 4 years. So that developed between 95, 96, 97, and 98.
Yeah, we have records that go all the way back to 92 when it was named Avalon Subdivision.
Yeah, and everybody was complaining we're going to put a shack house in there, and everybody had no idea that it would turn into such a nice subdivision.
Yeah, there were quite the amount of negative press and newspaper clippings and a lot of other interesting stuff in those files. So, but unfortunately, nothing with the actual phase one design files. We have phase two, which is pretty much everything west of this property, but nothing in the original part coming off of Klein. So, as I said at past meetings, this development's kind of been notorious for using ravines and existing lakes as their detention. So I wouldn't put it past them that this is actually supposed to be a restrictor and it's supposed to hold water. But with the issues we have downstream, I don't just want to open it up.
Okay.
So right now we kind of spoke with Public Works to maybe try to cap that 48-inch manhole and try to stick a beehive structure. It's not nearly as susceptible to clogging, and we'll see how that does. In a perfect world, the road would have been lower than Mr. Ryan's house, but it's not. So if we did have clogging scenarios, it would essentially overtop the road and go across the ravine, but it will actually get towards his house before it gets over the road. So, but this is something we can try. It's not going to be easy in its own right, getting that big of a lid down there. We'll probably have to clear some trees to get access to it. And I don't even know if Public Works can handle that. Can you, Tom?
Yeah, we might be able to, I don't know.
If you get your big guy down there, he might. Your excavator. They can definitely lift it. It's just a matter of is it too steep and is it dangerous? So.
We'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Did you want to get the camera truck out there and take a look at it and make sure the
Yeah,
pipe's
I
clear?
would do that as well. Camera the 12-inch to make sure it's clear at least. I mean, there's a good chance with how big those rebar holes are and that grate that something could sneak through there and get stuck in there. So yeah, I'd camera it first. For sure. And
I
we'll
don't
go
know
from there.
how soon I can get to this though.
Well, we haven't heard from Mr. Ryan since he initially appeared here, which I think has been 3 or 4. He works nights, I
Yeah,
think,
he-
now.
I think he works
Yeah.
nights.
Yeah. 'Cause I think he said his son now tries to clear it out when he's working. So, yeah, just put it on the list. If we can't do it, it's something we can make. One of our subcontractors can do it pretty quick if we need him to do it. Because the lids, it's manufactured, it's not a special lid or anything like that. I think it's a 48-inch structure, essentially an 8-inch lid that'll have an opening for an inlet. So it should be readily available.
You're replacing with a beehive.
You're just capping it and putting a beehive. So we're going to have a cutout on it, but so it won't be it's going to have some type of blank or a cutout that we can get a 36-inch inlet and frame on.
Okay.
Yeah, because the original concern was he was just concerned about being clogged up, right?
Yeah, I think the problem is when it clogs, it gets our water really comes up and gets close to his house. Because like I said, it's going to hit his house before it goes to the road.
Because you're saying there's 10-foot drop. I mean, that can hold a lot of water.
It can. Yeah, it can. So, yeah, I mean, I've never been out there to see it at full flow. I've been out there when it's raining, but it's been rather low. I've never actually seen it when it's been super, super high. It may have gotten that high earlier this spring, but I haven't seen it. So I don't remember if he said it actually got into his house once or twice, or it's just gotten close.
Close.
It's gotten close. I mean, you're right. There's a lot of storage and a lot of depth that it has to get up to get towards his house, but I don't know
To
how
me, that
close it's
sounds like
gotten.
the original design. It was just a retention to hold back some water.
That was my theory because some of the other ravines in phase 2 are noted as detention, and they're just existing ravines that were there before the subdivision. It's not the greatest way to design stormwater, but it is what it was. So
Mm-hmm.
this subdivision suffers from having enough volume in the first place. So I would hate to take it away by opening it up. So
Oh, yeah, like
it's kind of where it comes back to.
downstream.
Would increasing that volume?
You'd have to essentially nuke all those trees to increase it. Because kind of like Tom led, a lot of your volumes within that ravine, which is extremely wooded at this point. If you wanted to make it bigger, you'd have to kill all those trees to make it wider because you couldn't clear it from the top, like near the water tower, near the well, because water doesn't get that high.
Okay.
So
And trees help absorb water, so getting rid of trees, I don't think would be a good idea.
that's also true, Bob.
Anti-erosion.
All right. Moving on to new business. Chuck Becker, 7513 West 136th Avenue. Mr. Becker, you here? All right.
Actual address that I'm looking at, 6100 West 136th Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana. House I used to live at, which I still own, 7513 West 136th Avenue.
What is the address, your address?
6100 West 136th Place.
Thank you.
I've been dealing with this flooding problem, 7513 West 136th Avenue, since 1982. I've come here to the Stormwater Committee multiple times. This is before you guys. When Joe was president, they tried fixing it. I had a drain across the street from my house, which is probably a foot and a half higher than my property. It connects underneath a clay tile, runs directly underneath the house. And when Jerry Riley was in the town council back, I'm guessing 2005, maybe 2000, maybe before that, 2003. They put a storm drain catch basin in my front yard next to my driveway that ties into it. It ties into the clay tile that runs directly underneath my house and goes underneath my house to the drain behind my house. It's an 8-inch tile. So the whole street, 136th Place or Avenue, it's the bottom of two valleys. You know, it's two hills. It's the valley of two hills. It's an 8-inch line with two catch basins that runs directly underneath my house. Also, in my crawl space, I found out when Bill Mellicar was in Public Works, he came out. And we found out there's a 4-inch tile that runs from the north, which it's already taken care of. I blocked it off years ago. And from the west, and it comes out to the south. And it ties into that same sort of catch basin. Well, back in 2000, it was Denny Whiffling's last term. They did a project over there, 136th Place. They did the curbs and drainage, but they didn't do 136th Avenue. They ran out of money. And then years later, they did Ninth Street, and they went up north. They didn't do the 136th Avenue till last year, but they didn't put the curbs in. But anyways, when they did that drainage project, they took up 136th Place, where the hill drops down. They took a pipe and ran it to the side of let's see, Jason Zimmer owned the duplexes back there. I think Mike from the Sandbar owns it now. They ran it all the way down to the backyard of the A-frame. Let's see, the A-frame's address is 7415 136th Avenue. Back their property. That used to flood all the time because they only had a 4-inch tile going all the way down to the bottom of the hill. And then where I was at, it tie in 8-inch, 4-inch, and tie in and swoop up going south to 136th Place. Well, when they redid it, they put an 8-inch tile coming straight down in their backyard. They kept mine as an 8-inch tile, and it was supposed to be a 16-inch tile. When they were doing it, McAllister was digging it out, and I'm like, hey, that's not 16-inch. They changed it the last minute to save a couple $100. That's what he said. He said, don't ask me. He said, labor's the most expensive thing, but they changed it to a 12-inch tile. So they ran a 12-inch tile going south because it said 136th Place couldn't handle the 16-inch tile. I'm like, how does 2 8s go into a 12? He's like, well, our engineers, this was before Don or anybody was here. You know, this was not Don. Anyway, so they said, that's what our engineer said, it'll work, it'll work. Well, it doesn't work because top of the hill doesn't flood anymore because, I mean, they used to flood, you know, good 2 or 3 feet, you know, in their backyard. If it was my yard flooded, I don't mind. It's in my house. Where my furnace is at. I replaced my furnace 3 times now so far. My wall tank, I replaced. I have 3 sump pumps down there and still can't keep up because I have a 4-inch tile coming in that goes around the footing. But besides that, when it rains really hard, it comes through the crawl space vent because it's running like a river down that road. And it pours into crawl space vents. I've been complaining about this for years. They said they're gonna fix it. They have not. They tried, but as usual, they always go the cheap route. So when they put 12-inch out, I complained. I called Danny on the phone. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? That's what the engineer said it'll work. It doesn't work. if you looked at the way it is in the subdivision, it's a joke, because you're on 136th place, I'm on 136th Avenue. Halfway down, it dips down. They have half the road coming over, shooting over on this side on 136th Avenue, shooting down an 8-inch tile. And then my whole road, 136th Avenue, from the top of the hill, from the lake, all the way down, there's 2 catch basins, one in my yard, one across the street from my yard, into an 8-inch tile. Goes in, it wides in like this. Well, who's the last one to get drained? I am. And then when it backs up in my crawl space. I mean, they should have never tied it in, you know. Bob Brandon's the one that built the house back in 1978. He was town council president. When I came here before, Jones told me I should have built my house on retention pond. I'm not the one who built the house. I bought it, you know, it was already built. I bought it in 92, it was built in 78. Bob Brandon's the one that built it. He was town council president. He's the one that got to go ahead and do it. So I'm the one that's been stuck with it since. I can't sell it, I can't do anything with it because it always constantly floods. So they got the 8-inch tile from my whole my whole road, all the way from Morris, all the way down, shoots underneath my house that ties in. And there's a 4-inch tile, like I said, 2 4-inch tiles connects to it, to the back, and it ties in wise to 136th place, and it shoots over, shoots across the one across the street, shoots over, goes down a little bit farther, shoots over to where the boat, lake access is, and shoots out to the lake.
So Chuck, right now they have our plans from the roadway project from 2006, 2007, when we did the VNOT stuff, which was just roads. It was before my time, but these are the original
Yeah,
plans.
way before you.
Yeah. So we have the system in 136 that heads west and then south and then west down that lake access you talk about. So just talking about this system as a whole, the existing shots we had back then, it is dead flat. The structure that is kind of that concrete area on the north side of 136 place, you know what I'm talking about right there.
Yes, the one directly behind me.
That invert is the same as the invert before it 90s to go out to the lake. So it's dead flat. So it's an 18-inch pipe. It looks like the majority of that run is all 18-inch PVC.
That's the front part on 136th Avenue, but it's a 12 going to that.
Yeah, it's a 12 going to it. But I'm just trying to say, whoever said that system probably couldn't take any water probably wasn't lying, because it's so flat and there's not a lot of conveyance in through it. So it's actually back pitch. I imagine this system actually holds water at some points based on those inverts. So you and I have talked about this a couple of times in the past. I don't have any, we show a 12-inch going off into nowhere, and we don't have anything after that, heading north towards your house. We know that's there.
It's an 8-inch going, well.
Well, we have a 12-inch going out from that concrete area.
Right, so two
2/8 coming into a structure, right?
8s going in, yeah.
And the
They
8
got
runs to you.
It's what, literally, it's this high. They got the storm drain, rounds right here, it's right here.
Okay.
That's where it's at. That's where it ties in.
So it's not taking any water at all.
No, not right there.
Okay.
But, you know, at the bottom part, you got 2 8s coming into it.
Yep. One from the east, one from the west of your house, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then it shoots to the west to where my catch basin is behind my house. Then it shoots to the north.
Underneath your house,
Correct.
which is a
Underneath the house.
4.
Which is, no, there's an 8 going all the way to the front that's in my driveway. That's connected to the driveway because I was there when they put it in.
Okay.
It's in a clay tile. But in the crawl space, there's 4-inch tiles it's a Y, one from the west, one from the north. The one from the north, I found out it was from someone's, basically cistern. They had the sump pump and their sink and everything else tied into it. And when they moved out, I seen it where the clay tile, I'm like, hey, that's the same clay tile I seen coming in. So I yanked it out when it was abandoned. I yanked it out. So I had no water now coming from the north.
Okay.
From the west side, when I called Bill Malakar, he came out, he told me I can't block that water off. You know, it sounds stupid. I can't block the water off from the north that's coming up towards the lake, coming down the hill. But the sledgehammer accidentally dropped and fell. And, you know, it got
It
pulled
happened.
in. But still, water still comes in.
So what you guys have in front of you now, you can see obviously where our plan stopped. We show a 12-inch PVC heading north, and that red dashed line is kind of the approximate location I think where stuff is. We have to check the Woodland Shores Edition plat to see if that pipe's actually an easement. I don't know if it is or not.
There's an easement.
There's got to be, right?
There's actually an easement. The guy who built my house put an addition on the easement.
Okay. Is that
That's
on
in my
your?
driveway. There's
Is there anything in your rear yard? Is what I'm.
in the rear yard, there should be a shed, very back.
Yeah. Just trying to.
It's a
So yeah, these are
12
all.
by 12 shed. It runs underneath there,
It's right here.
basically to the other side.
Okay.
Yep, right there.
Okay. This is where everything tees in, right? 'Cause this is that
Look
big
for the
concrete
first
area.
spot. That's where it tees in at.
It's like right here, right?
Nope, you move it down.
Oh, that way?
Nope, down.
Down.
Up, just 2 inches to the left. Right there. That's
Okay.
where it tees in.
Okay.
And
You got an 8-inch going east, 8-inch going west.
You go over a couple feet, and that's where, right there. And that's where it goes straight up. If you go straight up, that's the line that goes, the 8-inch tile, goes straight up. Right there by the telephone pole is right where the other, there's one to the left of the driveway, and it ties in to the one across the street. Because the one across the street's a 1.5 foot higher than my yard.
Okay. You have nothing, do you have anything in your frontage?
In the front yard, there's one in the front yard next to the driveway, on the left-hand
Like
side of the
right
driveway.
here?
So keep going farther to your right. Right next to the driveway,
This one?
right there, yep,
But you don't have any, this is your house, right? Yeah, that's you.
yeah, okay, that's it, okay, yeah,
So it's either side of here.
yeah.
Okay. So here's the rub. Can install bigger pipes. I'm not confident the system that we're tying into has a whole lot more conveyance to kick it out. That would be my concern.
Cause I didn't know if you can put another one, like where it comes out to the lake. Like
Well-
right out to, be able to
That's
handle more.
likely to have to be happening. You have to reprofile the system in a way to get rid of some of these bellies and the flatness of it to really increase the capacity of it. Because it's sitting essentially flat for, I don't know, 200 feet, it looks like. It's not going to do a whole lot. Especially with how much area is going to it.
I don't care about flooding my yard.
Oh, I care about flooding your house.
Yeah, it's the house now where,
Yeah, and what I'm getting at is that, yeah, you're tapping into a system that has a finite level of capacity to it. So no matter what's even if you did put that 16-inch in there and got into it, I imagine it would have helped to an extent, but you're still limited by what this system down on 136 place can push out.
right, cause you're still, like I said, from the top of the hill, it's still running full blast.
Yeah. I mean, you have water coming out 136 Ave, 136
Now,
place.
my neighbors, they're trying to put their sump pump and everything else. They're shoving everything on my side because, you know, they're getting flooded all the time. They just bought it from the guy that passed away, Dan. He passed away. And they're shoving
Oh, sons.
everything on my property because he used to be the lowest spot.
Yeah.
We both did.
Yeah.
He raised his yard 1.5 feet. I got video and everything else. And he had dirt. I didn't complain, you know, I just dealt with it.
Should have.
But, you know, well, I told the town about it, but, you know, they came over because he complained because he wanted to put a swale put everything in the drain that's in my front yard, and they seen what they did, they're like, you're screwing yourself. Cause you raise up you raise up the dirt,
Mhm.
and he's flooding the other side of his property.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not taking the whole subdivision's water.
Yeah. No, you kind
I've been
of
doing
are.
this Since 1992.
Oh, I know. Right now, there's no way. Right now, there's no way to stop that. We just need to get it out of there. Is the problem? Because you are in a low spot. So,
It seems like it's a simple fix. Add another drain. Add another tile next to it.
that goes back to my point. If your downstream system can't handle it, then you're just putting in a pipe for putting in a pipe. If that 18-inch system that's in 136 place is full, adding stuff upstream of it is not going to help. We would need to increase the capacity of the system. Now, if we have enough survey to keep heading out to the lake and actually run a model on this, we can figure that out. But
You know,
that's,
make access where it kicks out to
yeah, we have the existing systems all within an easement, because it does run, the public right of way is this yellow line. And
Right
then
up next to the pier.
I believe, yeah, this is owned by the Woodland Shores POA. But I do believe there's a right of access agreement back there.
There is.
So, yeah,
Because they put a bigger one, it used to be a 12-inch.
yeah.
They made it into an 8.
And I don't know when this is a PVC system, so I'm not sure when it went in. But
They said they did road infrastructure 2006, 2007.
yep. And unfortunately, there's no drainage component. It's the curbs, which actually got the water to the system quicker probably. So,
Because they put the curbs in, and then they decided, oh, wait a minute, we got to put the drains back in. So they tore up everything after they put the curbs in. They tore it all up, put the drains back in, then put the curbs back in again.
in there, this is actually the field
On the
set. Yeah.
136 place.
This is the field set that we use for construction, and it did have some weird notes on it, but they weren't exactly great. I don't know if they did something in the field during this project or not, because they did have a dash. This is where that red line came from. That kind of runs back towards your house. They had a pencil line in the field set indicating they did either talked about it or something when they're out there. I don't know. Well before
Because
my
I
time.
know when they did the road construction, they did do nothing on my side of the street because they said they ran out of money.
That wouldn't surprise me that happens.
And that's why I complained about last year, when we were doing, we decided to pave the road, let's put some curbs, let's get some drainage to fix,
Yeah.
the flooding problem, because they kept saying back 2006, they ran out of money, but yet they did 9th Street and they went all the way north.
Mhm.
And they did everyone around besides my road.
Yep. I agree.
Like I said,
136
Three
Ave
verses later.
was supposed to be part of that one.
Furnaces later.
No,
I mean,
I-
the furnace is a good 18 inches, but it's that two sump pumps don't keep up with it when you got your
yeah,
shop coming in or your sump pump,
but you shouldn't have to rely on that.
and then you got two vents, for the foundation for the crawl space. And just water just pouring in. There's no, don't matter if I had 6.
Yeah.
It wouldn't keep up.
Well, let us look into it more. I know we talked about televising the downstream system and your things. Because can you fit the camera, Tom? Can you fit the camera in an 8-inch?
I think so.
I think you can.
Yeah, because they did a dye test back years ago.
Yeah.
and,
I don't think it's necessarily an issue of knowing where the water goes. I think we know that.
so
We just
I've
have
had
to.
this since 92.
We just have to do something with the overall system. I think it's too small, likely. And if it's this flat and has these substantial bellies in it, then an 18-inch is now throttled down to essentially a 12-inch. Because the upstream, if you look at the term when it goes out to the lake, you have an invert of 574.81. You go immediately upstream, it's 574.2. It's back pitched by over 6 inches. So that's substantial and odd, to say the least. So not only does drainage have to look at your parcel, I think the entire system has to be looked at. So
You need another easement on the other side of the property?
Yeah.
I want to give it to you. I don't care.
and we'll pull the plats and pull deeds and stuff like that. We likely have an easement back there, I would hope. but that'll be part of our kind of evaluation and see where we go from here.
So if those just my yard, I don't care.
Yeah,
It's
I get
just
it.
when the house floods, it causes that much damage.
I get it. And that's more of a concern, I think, for the board. I don't mean to speak for them, but it is for me when it affects the actual structure itself. So, especially repeated.
That's like twice, last year twice.
And luckily it's been dry in the summer, so this year, but it was wet in the spring. So
Basically, March. Well, March and we had all that rain back.
June, May. Yeah.
Those are the 2 times.
Yep. So let us look at it a little closer. Public Works will televise it. I think we have a survey of the entire existing system in 136 place. So we'll run a quick model on it, see what its capacity actually is, see how much water is coming to it. And I have a feeling it's going to be short. So,
You know, 2 ladies that live behind me, they got all the rock front, that she's got 1, 2, you got 3 drain, well, 2 in the front yard, 1 in the back, were sticking up.
yeah.
3 foot high. You know, they got all that rock, you know, they're constantly power washing the rocks because it's always getting mud, and everything from getting flooded.
Yeah. And there's a good chance some of that mud could be stuck in the system too.
Because at first she was, you know, she took a bunch of dirt, piled up this high against the fence, because she thought I was just shoving water, you know, from my sump pump. So I'm like, oh, that's just the water rushing through between my yard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. But let us look at it and hopefully we'll have something better to tell you next meeting.
Okay, so Public Works is gonna televise it, you're gonna run the modeling.
Yep.
See how much it can.
We'll likely run out there too and just trounce around some backyards, get a better idea and see it in person, take some pictures, see what we're dealing with and see if we can map the system out and see what we got. That's what I can promise you then. All right. Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you. All right, going up to written communication. None. Update items, rolling right into 137th Avenue in Lowerman.
So we should have this 20% plans. I should have them for review from our designer this week sometime. So that will be, like I said, into that stormwater master plan or subdivision plan. And like I said before, that will be tied into a singular system along Birch Street and 137. So if we can get funding and if it's a priority, I guess funding wise, they can actually do that system separately. That is essentially here. This is 137 in Lowerman. We're going to try to tie it into a system down the center of Birch Street and then tie it in Sleepy Hollow. That'll be the ultimate fix for it. It'll all be kept in public right away. We wouldn't be reliant on going through Cedar Lake Ministries. And that is the direction it's going right now. But like I said, that should be ready for review this week.
All right, moving on to Robert Hopkins, 13137 Polk Street. Mr. Hopkins, are you here today? So there's been no.
No communication. I believe he came to the meeting 2 meetings ago. I gave him my cell phone number, asked if he wanted to meet out there and look at it a little closer. He's never called me. I know Public Works went out and cleared a lot of the drains out there.
We're waiting for another.
Yeah, it really hasn't rained to even test it. So we'll just keep an eye on that one until we hear anything, or if a decent rain event can test cleaning out of the system.
Okay. The Sherman Street properties.
We completed our field, what we call our field check on Friday for this subdivision. So this is another subdivision. This is one of the 2 with Noble Oaks that will be brought up to 20% plans to get utility coordination moving on them. We ran out there, we walked the entire subdivision, not just Sherman Street, but walked the entire thing. I believe the way that system's going to be designed, it's another singular system. similar to kind of 137th and Birch over there. Whereas it will likely outlet into the Cedar Creek or Woods of Cedar Creek right-of-way system along 141st. Similar to the alternatives we presented a couple of months ago, it's just a complete system versus a system for, you know, 2 parcels. We'd rather address something as a whole and in a larger storm sewer system versus just one parcel. Ends up being cheaper, it's more efficient, and it addresses more than one parcel. It addresses the entire street, so which has no stormwater infrastructure in it, you know, currently. So that one's being designed to get it up to 20%. Like I said before, that plan should be completed sometime end of summer, maybe end of September-ish, early October, hopefully. With those 2, and there's 4 other neighborhoods that go with it. That'll be a conceptual level to get some cost estimates together to do some long-term planning.
Okay. Moving on to Robin and Jesse Albano, 12836 Hess Street.
So this is Monastery North. I believe Public Works is actually handling the next couple lots to the north, and that is under construction right now. The Hess's parcel will be next. That is essentially south off the lateral, if I can get my bearings here. They're constructing a system, yeah, right there, 12802. The Hesses are right, or the Albanos are down here. So there's a lateral, I think right on this empty lot. So essentially extending a lateral north and extending a lateral south to kind of help some of those rear yard drainage concerns. So, like I said, the one up to the north is pretty much done now, and we'll move on to the Albanos next.
Good. Moving on to Elaine Edwards at 10535 West 129th Avenue. And I know there was some review into that property.
Yeah, we issued a memo, an internal memo to the town attorney, basically asking for his legal advice on considering the drain that's in question, routing from the Edwards parcel west through a parcel that it has a restrictor on a culvert that's causing water to back up. We essentially have defined it as a mutual drain, which even though we don't have easements through there, we still have essentially a pseudo right of access to control it. So it was sent to the town attorney prior to the last meeting, and I don't think he has returned a ruling on it yet. At least I haven't heard anything about it.
Okay.
So
Tammy, could you check with Jill and see if Dave has looked into this?
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Edwards, you're here if you'd like to say something. Yeah, I haven't either. Yeah. I get it. I'm kind of, my hands are tied until we get that ruling. And if we get the favorable ruling, we can send the police out there. And I think they've been out there before in the past to have them remove it, and it went back. Yeah. So once we get that, stuff can move pretty quick. If we need to send a cease and desist letter or something like that, we can do it. Especially since it's been a problem in the past. So I'm just waiting. I hate to say that, but it's kind of the status where it sits now.
All right. Next is Mr. Denick, 10813 West 134th Place.
I would like to say that Mark invited me out there, and I checked north and south, east and west, and from the plans he showed me, that area has definitely been filled in and needs to be removed. And I believed, I talked to Tim, and Tim said he was going to talk to you, Don, and get you to write a letter.
The letter has been written over the past month. The subject parcel, which is the Abbott, right now, the Knots. They have an open patio permit or deck permit. The plan was for when he called in for his final inspection that Tim would address it then and not essentially basically issue a red tag at that point. It's my understanding he hasn't come in for a follow-up inspection, so it's kind of sat for the last month. The cease and desist letter was drafted by myself, and it was ruled that it should go on town letterhead. So it's in that process of being issued right now, is what I understand. Town staff has it though. So you're right, Bob.
Can
All right.
Just
Yep.
state your name and address real quick.
Mark Phoenix, 10813 West 134th Place. Can I ask a couple questions in regards to the letter?
Yep.
Does the letter explicitly state the location where the drainage is to be established, or will the town be surveying and placing stakes for the location and grade?
To be determined, didn't get into that level of detail. He was told that he filled within a 30-foot wide drainage and detention easement on the rear portion of his property, essentially measured from his rear portion to the west. He was told to remove the fill he placed there several months ago to existing grade. Obviously, we can't guess on existing grade, but it'll be pretty obvious when he removes it if it's correct or not.
But I mean, it should be established such that, the property drains from the existing swale located to the north.
From the north to the
Property in
south.
question,
Yes.
the inlet basement located on the property to the south.
That would be the goal. Yes.
That's the goal, or that's what this board wants to have done, and that's what the letter.
I think the exact language should include what is platted and what is where the current lines are and where they placed dirt at.
I did submit an example copy of the verbiage last month. I don't know if you guys had a chance to review that, but that's very, clearly stated that it should be in line with the low point of the drainage swale located on the property to the north, and in line with the stormwater inlet located on the property to the south, and graded such that the water drains from north to south as written.
It will have something very similar to that. Yes.
Basically, I went out and also checked this out, and the property in question is definitely in violation. Letters are real nice, but unless we enforce the law, which includes not letting people fill in.
Oh, he
Easement.
was not given permission to fill it in.
Well, what I'm getting at
Yeah.
though is writing him a letter, if he's already broken the law, what's going to prevent him from not continuing to break the law?
Well, this is it's considered an escalation. The letter has a deadline on it. If he does not-
To do the remediation.
It's pretty quick. I think I had it as September 11th. So if he obviously does not meet the requirements of that letter by then it likely will be turned into a legal issue above my head. Because there will have to be some type of code enforcement, whether it's fining, whether it's leaning the property, whether it's something to those issues. I couldn't tell you after that.
I can tell you that page 13 of the 2015 stormwater ordinance states that if the owner fails to correct the deficiencies within the allotted time period as specified in the letter, the Cedar Lake Works Department will undertake the work and collect from the owner using the email. So it seems like it's pretty explicit and clear cut what happens after that date. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page moving forward here, and that everything, all the minutes indicate that everybody wants it in the historic location, but it's supposed to drain from the north to the south. Just so that, if this does come up again, I can pull the minutes of the meeting and I have it, what the intent of the board was.
Yes.
And my last question is, are these minutes available online anywhere for us to review prior to each monthly meeting? Because I have been trying to look for them online. I haven't seen them. I think they're supposed to be available under Freedom of Information Act.
You can submit a public records request.
Okay, and then I can get them in advance of them being ratified. Because I mean, if any of us, are put in the meeting and
No,
minutes saying we said something, we
You
don't
can
have.
only
to
get
answer.
approved.
Yeah.
We'll only get them after the fact.
I don't believe draft minutes are subject to public records requests.
Okay.
Not a.
Okay.
Mm,
All right, well, I just wanted to personally thank Dan Enright and Bob Carnahan for coming out since the last meeting and again, taking a look at this issue. It seems to me that everybody that's come out has seen the same thing and we're all in agreement that hopefully next month this can be under old business. And then we can put this behind us. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mark. All right, Public Works project updates, Robin's Nest.
I believe that's on town staff to contact the homeowner. I still don't think that's happened yet. That's all I know. We need for the recommended approval to move forward, we need an easement to go through that. Otherwise, you take the drainage north and you extend the project about 3 times, if not 4 times as long. So that's, I think Jill was meant to contact them, but I don't think it's happened yet.
You have a comment?
Yeah.
Come approach the,
Contractor, 100, 136,000. What's the date of Robin's Nest? We need contact the only president.
It is, let's see if I can get the exact address for you.
Is it us we need to contact or just the homeowner?
It's the homeowner.
Oh,
We would need it directly from the homeowner's lot. It's off of Robin's Nest, well, it's actually off of Bluebird, I believe.
Bluebird.
It's one of these, either the Peters or the Wegmans. It's been a while. Peters. I believe it's on the north side of his lot.
Is that the swale? That's the building?
Yes. Because there's a drain right outside, right out front of this property. Actually, maybe it's the Wegmans. I don't know. You can see the drain that we want to get into is this one right here. Otherwise, we have to go to the other nearest drain, which is all the way up here. So we'd have to add on 3 parcels and they get quite long.
Because I remember before your last meeting, we had a complaint, that's why I had to leave early.
Yeah,
We had a complaint because they said they had, the next door neighbor filled in the swale.
the original issue,
Where they used to drain, just filled it all the way in.
the original issue, I think, was a couple fold. I think it was a swimming pool kind of aided in some of that. I know they were discharging, like, I think, dishwasher
From
Yeah.
the other street, from the other street over.
to the east. Yeah,
that
So
would
there
have been
were
her backyard.
a couple violations that would violate sanitary rules, and then also the filling and the easement as well. But we haven't gotten into that one for a while.
I said, yeah, that does.
I think it's the Wegmans actually, but
I thought it was the Peters.
okay, because the actual basin's here. That's the one we want to get to. I thought it went down this line, but we haven't spoken about this in quite a while.
No, I think there were some internal things going on.
Gotcha.
With these.
Well, the Peters were the original, they brought the original concern, I believe. So that we really needed to get a pipe down here to connect into these basins. So I think that was some of the, if they didn't have the concern, would they even grant it? But that was the point of discussing it with them. Otherwise, you could go up this way, I guess, but you'd have to run down driveways, get under them, either open cut them or go under them.
To my knowledge, this was going back and forth with Jill.
Okay. So if you can help, I'll let you know. Yeah. I forgot you were on the HOA, so you and Glenn, right? Glenn's on the HOA too, right? Okay. So yeah, if we need some help, I'll let Jill know. We know where to find you. I have an update on Woods Cedar Creek.
Okay.
Notice of award went out today. We received 1 bid from Redbud Landscape Services for $47,000, so almost double our estimate. But town staff gave us direction to proceed anyway, so that likely will go before town council at their next meeting for award, and then that project will financing cost.
So we abandoned the idea of having the public works do the project.
Yes, they were never going to do that. Just because of all like the sprinklers back there and laying sod, and it just was in a landscaper's, professional landscapers, ballpark. So I have no doubt they can handle it, but
But they're just loaded with too much
Yeah,
work
they're
right
just loaded.
now. And it's hard for them to do what they're trying to do right now.
yeah, so we quoted it out to 4 local landscapers. I think T&J, Prestige Landscaping, and one other that I cannot remember off the top of my head right now. So Redbud is the only one to submit a quote though.
And just real quick, what did you say the name of the company is?
Redbud Landscape Services.
Redbud. Thanks.
Yeah, they're one of the bigger ones around here.
No, I've seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt they'll do a good job.
Be happy when that project is completed.
Yes.
Next is public comment. Does anyone have any comments that they would want to make? Please approach the stand and state your name and address, please.
Dave Novacell, 10805 West 134th Place here in Cedar Lake. I've had Mark coming to the meetings here, working on this. It sounds like you guys are getting close to a finish on this drainage problem. I've been living in my house for a little over 20 years, and this is the first year I've had to have my lawnmower towed out of my yard because it got stuck. Never had flooding before, never. The town's been out there several times and it's gotten stuck in my yard. So I do appreciate you guys working on this. And if you need anything, if he gives you grief on this and it goes further, my wife does have pictures of him filling this in, putting down grass seed, installing trees. And if any of that you need, feel free to contact me and we can get that through my wife too, if it's necessary. Okay?
Thank you. Hopefully that won't be necessary, but I appreciate your
I know
concern.
this has been a hard struggle.
Thank you. Please.
Hi, I'm Sue Pearl, and we're at 15004 Terrace Street, Men's Way in Cedar Lake. And I'm back again. We have water on the inside of the lower level, and then you have the drainage issue between the homes. And I know that at one of the meetings with my friend, and I don't want to say too much anyway, it was like I was the one that was the problem in the nag. Well, this is our 5th new build in 47 years of marriage, and I don't have to go through this kind of thing. I don't like warranty work. I don't like appointments, and I don't like water coming into the house. And again, on August 10th, we had it running down the walls, so I'm wiping the walls down. Insulation again getting wet, and I went back and talked to my realtor, and it shouldn't be that way. And I know that Don heard from Todd Clevin, who is the engineer at Diamond Peak, so now he's blaming it on the back door. At one point it was a fence company, on another point it was a landscaper, and now we're on the back door. Now maybe it is a back door. That seems kind of odd because it started right when they did the new build next door, which put them higher than us. This is from our backyard going to the front, how everything comes down here. You can see all the waters. This is what we were down to, our irrigation hoses and this thing showing. And I took this another Diamond Peak home, the subdivision where it's level there. And this is us, it's not level. So that's why we associated the water coming in with the neighborhood new build, because that's when it started. And I took this, we paid to have our fence post raised once, and now it's sunk again. My husband's moved the hardware twice, so we've got holes all up and down our fence post. And you can see where, it's just going down. And this was the issue originally. So now they got that temporary fix on there, which has got a huge hole in it. So I'm gonna go buy another one and go put it on there for Diamond Peak. This is what I was told It will be buried, the drain, it will be buried once the house next door is completed. They will be tied together to get the water running away from the homes. And that was 3 years ago. I first reported this in April of 2018, and I've been having water come in with the rain, not every time, but for, over 2 years now, we've been doing this thing. So nothing has changed. So if it's a backdoor, number one, why would they ignore it all this time? And what am I supposed to do? I know that you're gonna keep seeing if you can jiggle something around,
I mean,
Todd.
Sue, I emailed you. The only, with the way the water's coming into your house, the only way it can really do that is it's got to be getting in somewhere above your top foundation. Your finished grades along your side yard are typically 8 inches below it. So, which means that it's either coming in from your siding or from your door, somewhere above that. It's not coming in by surface water. So, and that's beyond the limits of this board.
Right.
The only way it's getting into your basement ceiling, which is higher than the outside, what we call our finished grade, where the dirt gets up against your foundation, is that means it's coming from or somewhere inside the structure. Whether it's a door threshold issue, whether it's a siding issue, it's something that's not related to surface water. And that means it's likely a builder issue that we really, like I said, I'll help as much as I can. I deal with Todd for other issues. And he has stayed in contact with me. He hasn't ignored me. Yeah. So he needs to talk about other stuff. So I have that leverage on him, but from what this board can do, there isn't much that we can do for that. It's not within the jurisdiction of this board to go to a builder about a private home, especially a warranty issue potentially or something like that. It's not the function of this board. So I will continue, you can continue to email me like you have, feel free. And I will continue to contact Todd on your behalf so he doesn't ignore you. But as far as this board goes, there's not a whole lot of recourse that we can do from this level.
And what about then the unlevel between the houses and the gate post sink? And that has nothing to do with, see, to us, that happened at the time it was coming in.
Yeah.
So we assumed it was connected. But this back here and our gate post is sunk again, that is drainage from this house. I mean, it has to be. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but it didn't happen until that house was built.
Yeah.
And then we were clear down to our irrigation hoses were exposed and everything. The drain was above the ground because I don't know, I don't know what a fix is. I'm just a girl. I'm just trying to figure out.
I know plenty of female engineers, so don't say that.
After sitting here, I'm like, oh my God. So I don't know what is a solution, but what do I need to do to have them, make this so that we're not taking our neighbor's water? Like that.
I will continue to push him to bury that downspout. You have some photographs of your text. So I'm glad you took a picture of them. I don't take a picture of my text. So at least we have that to go back onto him. I will continue to press him to do that.
Okay.
And hopefully that solves your fence post issue. And I'll do that outside of this board. So I talked to Todd a couple of times, a month. So I will keep bringing it up to him. He has told me in person that he's not ignoring you. Some of the stuffs are above his head is what I'm getting, but I will continue to push him on it.
Okay, but how come we live there over 3 years now, and if he's not ignoring me, that hasn't been fixed?
I don't know.
I know, I do know this, and I feel bad. Diamond was using our home to show. I was influencing people to move out there with Diamond Peak and with her, and they're like, I don't want any part of that mess, and I'm like, I wish we could just stay in St. John. What is a new home when you have to fight over warranties for 3 years? And I know it's past the 2-year thing, or well, they didn't stay on schedule for that. I have no problem with that. I know that's a norm because we had 5 new homes.
Yeah.
But then don't turn back and use the schedule against me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And here I am trying to influence people to move out there, and now they're like, and I'm learning that I'm not the only one, that we're not the only one that has water coming in our lower level. So like
Yeah.
you say, maybe it's a hitch in the get along of how in the world am I ever gonna figure out the siding or how am I ever gonna figure that out?
Well, I have a new home too, and the door leaked itself in the first year I lived there. So it happens, unfortunately, but it happens.
So how did you figure out what has to be done?
Mine was a glass issue,
Okay.
so a little different, but yeah, believe me, it happens.
We got, I mean, my warranty list is letters and letters and, you know, and I send them, I document it, I have proof, I keep copies. And, you know, I just had to push through, we got $3,000 worth of French doors, the glass isn't clear. So, you know, they send Schilling Builder out, so they reorder, the glass isn't clear. You know what it is? It's the stupid glue on the glass that they put on it to ship it. So now you're supposed to get roof off and scrub that down, and then you have to scrub it to get it off. So I do, I mean, you know, there is a lot of issues, but I'm not happy about it having a lot, I hate issues. I hate having to have you guys see me come here every week to every month to complain, you know.
We love seeing your outfits, and you do have a beautiful home, and I'm sorry that it hasn't gone to the best of its capability for you, and it's not living up to your expectations. I have reached out to Carly, and I have talked to her and explained everything that's going on. But kind of like going back what Don was saying, that it is out of this jurisdiction. But I personally, I would love to help you out any way that I can as far as trying to remediate your problem. But there's things that need to be done in order to really identify the problem, and connecting that downspout is huge.
Downspout, next door neighbor's downspout, is there an underground conveyance for it, or what is the problem with that?
There's not. I mean, it's town code to release your downspouts 5 feet from your property line, which makes it super difficult when your side yard easement is 5 feet. So
The downspout was coming straight here to this.
Right.
In the air. Then we snuck and added that goalpost to hold that, because the water was so strong, it just
Sure.
scraped it out, which took her right down to the gate post.
Mhm.
And, you know, when their water's coming, it's like more than you would think, you know, and I haven't went out and taken pictures when it's raining yet. I suppose that's, you know, the next step, but, you know, that's a temporary fix that's coming down. And even in this picture, look how much higher it is than the house.
It's very clear that it's higher.
And I was hollering ever since they did the bill, they totally exposed our gate post, and I'm like, come on, you know, and I'm texting them and emailing them. And I don't like to, like, you know, be chewing on people and everything, you know what I mean? It's just trying to work through, like you say, this stuff. So I'm gonna give this to you. Are you done with me, Doc?
if you're done with us, we're done with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Feel
Any
free to
other
email me. Feel free to email me.
Okay.
Any other public comments? One more.
Mark Phoenix, 10813 West 134th Lake. I just had the one follow-up question in regards to request that I made last month. Can I get a copy of the letter that's going to the homeowner so I can have it for my file as a resolution to my complaint that I made with the town?
I will leave that up to legal counsel. I don't know.
Okay, I mean, and I'm just asking.
If he says yes, then yeah.
If he says yes, great. If he says no, you can't, you know, or he has to redact some portions or names or whatever, you know, just so I have something for my file, because, you know, I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with this yet.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. In regards to the Costello property in Lynn's Way on Cary Street, that is something that we're gonna have to get back to from Jill Murph. She is not present right here. Have you heard any updates about that? Costello on Cary Street, Lynn's Way. Mr. Costello, what's your address?
14736 Cary Street.
The pipe running north and south back there.
Oh, this is the big HDPE pipe that's
Yes.
collapsing.
Yes.
I'm still waiting on televising of that from Public Works. Has that been done?
So we did that.
So I can't say for sure that we actually did that. So you're still waiting on Public Works.
Yep.
So I know that this would be part of a much larger project because it affects many, many properties going back and that was something that was coming from Jill in an update item. As far as the televising, I think we could find out if they have it, if they've done it, and then I can get back to you. Is that okay? And then ask Jill for an update then.
That'll drive the fix. We need to know how bad the pipe's in. If it's in bad condition, we'll likely have to replace it. If it's in salvageable, we can do what we call a rerounding. But I think it's cracked, so probably it's going to be replaced. We'll see.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. That's it for tonight. No other public comments? All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we never talked about the 50/50 policy, but
Want to address it with them before even making a movement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How you doing, kiddo?
Good, how are you?
Good. Daughter go back to school?
All right, how are you?
No, I have one left in high school. Yeah,
Mhm.
yep, he's a senior.
I would televise this. I do the entire damn thing. You can
She's on down to see her baby.
Because this is the person we get flying for sure. I don't know, I've been to
How's your family doing?
but it's.
They're doing good. My one daughter that's a nurse, she's been floating back and forth to COVID.
Right.
Did you see